Wizards of the Coast is squandering their finite resources. The resource management skills of Wizards of the Coast are in horrible shape and they need to improve. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel today. If you think of Wizards of the Coast as a giant tree, standing strong and healthy in a big field all by itself with huge branches reaching up to the sky. And each of those branches is a piece of Wizards of the Coast. Their job is to feed nutrients into the central trunk to keep the whole tree healthy. But there are problems. There are issues arising. Here we have our design of a beautiful tree. Can you tell I'm a great artist? Over there you've got R&D. That is the research and development arm of Wizards of the Coast. They do card creation, they play test the cards out, make sure things are all going to work. And then we have our marketing and sales team. They're the ones who get the hype train growing. They get us going and going and going, growing bigger and bigger to make us want to buy everything that the R&D pumps out. But here's where things get a little strange. See over here, this actually isn't directly related to Wizards of the Coast. This is the playing styles, the formats that we as the players have developed ourselves. Wizards didn't come up with Commander. Players did. Pauper, players created it. Wizards had, I guess, standard and modern. I remember some of the early formats like 1.5 and all that. I get it, guys. Legacy, vintage, old school. There are a lot of formats that players like to play under the sun. We've all got our own styles of play. That is a great part of the game, is you can actually create your own kind of stuff. It's great. But when a certain format style becomes popular enough, when enough players have picked it up, that ends up going back to marketing. Marketing brings it back to research and development, and they create a whole new chain of products for us. It's amazing. Big branches, big branches. Now, there are lots of small sub-branches that feed into this giant tree to keep us healthy. We got like Secret Lair, all kinds of reprint sets, new worlds and new sets being developed. Over here, though, remember all the rings of a tree? Remember those giant rings? You can't... Here, I'll step off here. See those giant rings right there? When you see a thin ring, that's a lean year for a tree. Wasn't enough water, not enough stuff to help it grow. Those are the years where people thought Wizards of the Coast was going out of business. They're like, nobody likes Magic anymore. The doom and gloom days, okay? But on the healthy boom years, where Wizards is just raking in the money, those rings are a little bit fatter, a little bit healthier. Good years, good years. But all of this doesn't work if all the small branches aren't doing their job. Every time Wizards of the Coast pumps out a reprint set, kind of like we're seeing with Double Masters 2022, Iconic Masters, Masters 25, Modern Masters. We've had quite a few to go by now, which is why it shouldn't come as a shock as cards get reprinted. As more reprints become available, the prices of the cards start to fall. They're starting to go down. Over the long term, little tiny dents get made every time there's a reprint. And when you're talking about resource management, it is managing how many times you reprint something into the open market. It is not healthy for a tree to get rain every single day in and day out, that saturates the soil so bad that the roots start to rot and eventually the tree dies. But you do have to do it enough that enough off and on rainfall comes to keep everything healthy. And this is where Wizards is starting to have some major problems. When you think about the stuff they have coming along, right? Every time they do a reprint set, if they don't manage the cards they reprint carefully, we get issues. Prices plummet, nobody cares about the cards, and the values go down. The more values drop, the more a large group of the player base, who are the flippers, the holders, they don't buy as much. And when they don't buy as much, there's not as much rain to go around. And then Wizards has to stretch things a little bit more and ask a little bit more from all the other branches to get their jobs done. And they reach out to the player base and they say, we got to raise things up. There is a cycle here that is starting to happen. I've noticed it for a while. It's the last couple of years, probably since Modern Masters and Iconic Masters. You can start seeing this little bit of a pattern. Just starting. Chinks in the armor. Little cracks in the tree that may not be as healthy as it once was. That doesn't mean the tree can't recuperate. Doesn't mean the tree won't have a couple of good years to get things back on track. but Wizards has got to pay attention to how they do their resource management. It was good that they didn't reprint a card like Mana Crypt. Give themselves a break. But when they reprint the amount of mythics they have reprinted into recent sets, it draws the value down. That's why they're only doing reprint sets every 2 years. These big ones like Modern Masters, Modern Horizons. We'll probably get Modern Horizons probably in 2023. And then 2024, they'll go back to another Double Masters type set. But is that enough of a break? Is 2 years enough? I would argue it's not. In my opinion, it's not enough time for the market to absorb the cards that are getting opened. When you see the flood of cards coming onto the market, and you don't see them being bought as quickly, and some are sitting on there for longer and longer periods of time, it just shows the growth of the game is not strong enough to support the multitude of cards they are printing. So every time they print this, and they're trying to make it rain, they're actually hurting the overall organism's longer lifespan. Management control of a finite resource must be done delicately, carefully. And I don't think they've learned how to do this yet. They're not a botanist yet. They haven't figured out all the little tweaks and stuff they've got to do to make it work. They're slow to make the changes necessary to recuperate from catastrophic things that happen. And sometimes when things don't go well, branches fall down on the ground. They just crash out. Remember the From the Vault series? They just chop that right off. When things don't go well, they chop off the entire limb instead of trying to save it. A knee-jerk reaction. They've done it before, they will do it again. They sever the limb to save the body. But if they're not careful, those cracks in the body are going to get worse. They've got to manage their reprint sets. The R&D is going to have to jump on new card designs. The player base that develops formats they like, Wizards will end up going back with those ideas and seeing what hasn't been done yet. I'll tell you where I'm going with this in a second. If you've got things like EDH, Commander, Modern, Standard, Pauper, Pioneer, I guess there's that one Frontier that nobody plays. When you get into all those different formats, Alchemy, Wizards is trying to find new ways. And when things don't work the way they want, when they can't generate the right amount of rain, the revenue to get things going, they'll start looking elsewhere. And that's what I'm talking about. There is a very loyal and dedicated base of player that still plays with the old cards, the reserve list power card, the little tiny branch that's left. It's a little tiny branch nobody really cares about. That's the reserve list branch. But there are players who still play. What would it take for Wizards to start developing other formats? If they're doing Modern Horizons 3 and they do Double Masters reprint sets, if you think they can't develop an entire vintage or legacy format, they can and they will, and it will happen. It's just a matter of time when they don't see the rain coming from other areas. A tree doesn't want to die. It sprouts new branches. It spreads itself out. The R&D will find out what things are going on, how they can make more changes. If they develop an entirely separate new type of format, legacy, vintage, old school, they put some powerful cards in there, it'll draw a large player base and they'll charge a premium price. This is an evolving organism that wants to stay alive. For all those people out there who think this is just it, it's not. They will go wherever the money lends them. This little branch of the reserve list, if it gets in their way enough, they will chop it off. I have no doubt. They'll take a bath on it. They'll go to court, whatever people want to do. I don't care. Some people say you can go to court. Some people say you can't. I'm not entering the argument. But if it gets bad enough and they have lackluster sales, the company's dying, in the dog days when things are done and the end of days is upon us, that's when they'll reprint the reserve list. The very end. The last ditch effort to draw out that last little bit of money. But you're talking 40 years from now. I'll be an old man by then, really old. I'll be in my 90s, okay? So that's not going to happen. But the other branches of value that they will try to develop will continue on. But if they manage the resources better than they're doing now, if they slow things down and make a reprint set like Modern or Double Masters come every 3 years and add in another format for players to get into or another type of reprint set that's a little bit different, or introduce more block sets. Remember they used to do 3 blocks? That took up a lot of the year, and they didn't have to work so hard to develop new cards. Because if you're going to 3 blocks of Dominaria, let's say, that's 3 different sets that can have slightly different cards in each one, making a wider range of storylines, development of cards, and usage of those cards over a longer period of time. It doesn't make R&D work so hard to churn out new cards. Wizards is racing to grow. They're being forced to grow by Big Papa Hasbro over in the corner, somewhere with a big gardening hose, just flooding, putting water everywhere. They got to slow it down. You're going to kill the tree if you flood it. If you push too hard, the tree's going to break in a strong storm. Things will snap off. Or you'll have to cut off more limbs because some of these things aren't succeeding the way you want them to. I'm talking about D&D. AFR should be a lot more successful. If they'd done a few tweaks, it would have been. It would have been more successful than it was. Although I still love the set. This here is an ever-evolving, changing tree blowing in the wind. But that resource management control is something that they have control of. They can take care of that and do things with it. And I hope they do. Because I love the products they're putting out. I don't like the pace in which they're doing it, that every year some new premium set has to come out to draw money from us. I get you got to keep the shareholders happy, but it's not going to make everyone happy if the entire tree falls apart. And I don't know if it's going to happen, guys. It may never happen in my lifetime. I just see these slight trends in cards where they're not recovering the same way they did before. And Wizards is digging ever deeper into the well of cards to try to find new ways to bring value cards up from the earth. To try to make us more enthralled and more excited. To make the hype train keep going. Maybe the hype train does need to slow down a bit. Maybe we need to all take a breath and enjoy the cards we have. I don't know what the solution is. I'm just presenting all the facts I have that I've seen. From my experience as a player, as a person who buys the cards, stores the cards, and enjoys them each and every day. This is going to be a really big changing thing in the world of Magic over the years to come. And I wonder what will happen. What happens if some of these cards don't start bouncing back? If the elasticity is not there and the resource management gets out of control, they keep pumping and pumping and pumping until fetch lands are $2, $3. It can happen. It really can. If they print fetch lands every year for 2 or 3 years, you're going to see those puppies be $3, $4. They'll kill the value of their own stuff. I'm not saying the cards have to be super expensive, but you need to maintain a certain level of value to keep the players interested in the cards they have. Anyone nowadays can go print a proxy and just play the game. You can't stop that from happening. But if you want the players to enjoy their cards, keep it collectible. Keep a lid on your management style. Keep the resources not choked, but at a slow drizzle that is maintained, monitored, and controlled at all times. That's all I'm saying. I wonder how you guys feel about that. I wonder what the comments are going to be in the video after putting something like this out there. It's just how I feel. It's my opinion, nothing more, but I want to know what you guys think. Too much rush, too much glow, too much snow? Or do we need a break from all this? Do you think Wizards are going to crash and burn the next 10 years? Or are they going to stay calm, cool, and I'm just blowing smoke for no reason when there's no fire? Let's find out together, guys. It's going to be a great journey. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Have an awesome day wherever you are in the world of Magic. Hey guys, a big shout out to all the fantastic patrons on the channel. You guys are awesome. You know it's true, but I just gotta keep saying it every day because I mean it. My patrons rock. Have a great day, everyone. Hello, special people. Hope you're all awesome today. New subscribers to the channel, you made it this far, you're a special person too. Over my shoulder, you're gonna see a light showing off the dry erase board. I didn't want that showing up on camera. I put it like nice and high. The light was way up here, but I still had to angle it down to give good lighting to the room. Wow, was that hot. That's all I can tell you guys. I just want to complain about that for a second. Very hot. And in the middle of filming, I'm filming all the stuff for today. I'm having a good time. I'm right into the topic about what's going to happen with this whole resource management thing in the long term. And you know what pops into my head? Dominaria United. It just popped in there. Almost threw me off twice. I'm going, I wonder what they'll do with Dominaria United. I just started writing notes. As soon as I finished filming, I started writing notes for more videos. I couldn't believe it. Because it usually doesn't happen when I'm filming, where you get like ideas and things start popping in. But the conversation was making me pop off ideas everywhere. You know, it was like, I don't know, just wanted to share that with you guys. Sometimes crazy things happen. I hope you're having a good day. Good day. Have a good day. Enjoy it. We earned it. We earned it today. It's a hot one. Earned it.